Welcome to TradersArmy.com, defending your right to build wealth and preserve capital for generations to come. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's edition of the Daily Market Commentary. I'm your host, Chuck Fulkerson. Hope everybody had a great trading day yesterday as we had the movement that we were talking about, a little bit of a sell-off, caused some stop-outs in some fairly close areas, but this is what happens when we have markets that change direction on us, and that's going to be totally okay because it sets us up for better trades moving forward. So let's go ahead and dive right in. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, click the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you are a regular returning visitor, hit the like button. It means a lot. The algorithms know that people are watching. All right, let's go. S&P down 11 points this morning. We've actually just sold off pretty hard here in the last few moments. So yesterday we talked about the fact that there was an anticipation that we would break out below 3150, and really that started with the fact that the Russell was in a daily level of supply. So we had talked about the Russell being in a daily supply level for a couple of days, and we had rallied up into that daily supply on the Russell. So here's that Russell supply level that we had spoken about as a daily chart. Combine that with the fact that the Nasdaq, that the S&P had come to a fib extension zone there right around 3150, and we figured that we would get a bit of a pullback. Now, when I look at this pullback on a daily chart, we're not too far pulled back to where we wouldn't see a decent opportunity to get long on some reversal trades. Now, until we stop at a quality demand level, however, we're gonna look for shorts now for the next couple of hours, and until we come into one of our quality demand zones. We got a little bounce off of the 3110 level here yesterday, as that was the anticipated bounce off of the gap area, and so we first bounced at the gap just a little bit, but the better move came really off of the second gap. We moved up from 3108 up all the way up to 3120. Now this is okay. We did get a little stop out on this 1-point move, but then you got a 10-point move coming off of the next one, a 10 or 12-point move coming off the next one. It actually worked out to be a pretty strong little level. So I'll take a tiny little stop out after the breakdown. So our breakdown in here, now we had a little bit of basing here before the breakdown, so you may or may not have gotten into that position based on this little bit of basing here before the breakdown, and then we got a nice little bounce off of this demand area. So those were two decent little levels, but now it sets up with a potential reversal at this 3143 by 3147, this little wick over wick area up here. Stop would be above this area right there, but we're selling off now pretty hard from the European market open. So I'm going to wrap my lines around both of these areas, giving us two potential supply areas as price comes back down into it. Now, looking at the 1-hour chart, I don't really have any quality demand until 3067 down here, and I think we could see price move down. On a 4-hour time period, we see that the same little pop up off of here happened already, and so the next area of demand, or our quality demand, doesn't really come into play for a little while. I'd say our best quality demand doesn't come into play until 3040, and that was kind of my thought, was that we had a little bit of a pullback to the 3110 area, but this is our better area where we would see. Now, we anticipate typically when we set a new all-time high in for price to give us a little bit of a pullback for a chance to get long again and to rally higher. And so I don't think that we may come down a little bit more today. There may be a bigger pullback down here in price, but really it's any of these levels where we could see a reversal on the bigger picture. So now is actually a good opportunity. If I don't believe in just trading futures. There's going to be a lot of good equity markets that open up with nice pullbacks into quality demand areas as well, so keep an eye on those. If you're a subscriber to TradersArmy.com, make sure that you keep an eye on the trade feed, as we're going to be looking for those opportunities over the course of the next few days. Nasdaq also fell down through the breakdown level. We actually hit the hourly level on the Nasdaq. Now the Nasdaq We thought we may get a little bounce here in front of the gap. The Nasdaq did not. It actually went all the way to the gap, got a little bounce off of that gap fill area. So the Nasdaq gave us didn't give us any really, slowing, even slowed down at those two levels, where the S&P actually got us a little reversal off of those zones. So the Nasdaq a bit weaker, and Microsoft was actually the one that started most of this move down. And so now what I'm looking at are these potential reversal zones on price rallying back up into this region. Speed candles do tend to get retraced, and so these are creating speed candles as we have these big kind of price shock areas. Now looking at this on a 4-hour chart, because we have this lower low and this lower high, it allows me to look at these potential for shorts. Crude oil, we didn't really come anywhere near any levels in crude oil. Yesterday we talked a little bit about the chance to catch a little reversal off of here, candle to candle, so it gave us a little move back down. We've actually just put in a little bit of a tweezer top here in the last few minutes for a potential reversal here, if you want to give that one a go. In crude, I would look, you may get another rally back up into here, so keep an eye on that one for today. And then gold, we saw a little bit of a pop in gold, but the pop we've gotten in gold is nowhere near any of our quality levels of demand or supply, and so I don't want to force the trade. There's a chance in gold that we pull back to one of these levels right in here. And if we do, that could be a decent little reversal. Actually, the better one, in this case, is actually probably the pivot. Time of day is a little bit better here on this little spinning top candle, but the pivot is actually probably where you place your stop below anyway. Next, bonds and currencies. So bonds, with the change in direction in the equity markets, bonds rallied up as we saw price come up. We broke through this tiny little, that was. What was that? Half a tick level, if you will. It's a tiny little level. Popped through this one just here in the last few minutes in the overnight session, but didn't have all that much movement yesterday. So what we saw yesterday was a fair amount of movement. I think it was, all started with a tweet. I know that's hard to believe. Fair amount of movement. We're coming into this gap fill area right in here, where we may see a bit of a reversal there at the gap fill level as prices are kind of moving up. Now, I would be a little bit more cautious about it because I do have higher highs here. And so I'm going to put the gap fill level, but I'm going to wrap it in a confirmation entry because we have those higher highs coming into play. In the Aussie, now the Aussie gained a tremendous amount of strength last night as it popped up yesterday in the morning through this little supply area that we had identified. And if I go to the 4-hour, you'll see that the Aussie has now come above this high. So once we come above that high, it totally changes our trend dynamic. So in changing our trend dynamic, we come into this level. We hit that zone, but we didn't get halfway in because it had to switch to a confirmation once our trend dynamic changes. So now we've got a couple of decent areas finally to look at for potential movements, and the better ones are going to be these ones down in here where we had this little origin of this move up. My problem with this level is the time of day that it was created. We're created here about 8 or 9 p.m., which is not the best time of day. So the Aussie had a big move through there. The euro, we broke above the area that we had spoken about yesterday as far as, price breaking above here, and we got a nice little breakout above there, got a little run higher, came into our opposing levels and popped through them. So remember, when we pop through those opposing levels, it sets up opportunities going forward. So looking at this, if I go to like the 15-minute time period, I wouldn't be overly surprised to see us get a little bit of a reversal here. So keep an eye on that one for today as far as a potential area. And then the Canadian dollar, we need price to pop out of this basing range before we would really do anything. So if I look at all of those markets, what you can see, just kind of looking at all four of those together, the Aussie and the Euro both took a huge run up, along with the bonds as well, changing our trend direction. Remember, when you take trend direction changes, you will have small time frame losses, but that's okay, because what it does is it sets up opportunities going forward, and you've ridden the trend down the whole way, and that's kind of what we were looking at in all of these positions. I don't feel like this is a long-term trend direction change. I think that we're going to see price come back down into areas, and we anticipated that there would be some sort of a pullback in the S&P coming here fairly soon, and that's really what starts all those other markets into their respective movements. Really quickly, the Great British Pound and the Japanese Yen, as we open those ones up, we see that the Japanese yen, the Great British Pound, we did not come into our little demand area that we had identified yesterday. Unfortunately, we had our gap here. We talked a little bit about the gap and go. We got a nice little move away yesterday. We talked about moving that stop to break even, and then it popped right back up from there. And so now, as if we pull back a little bit, I just don't love the time of day on any of these levels in here. I think you're actually better off looking at down here as a potential for a reversal in the pound. And then the yen, just blew right through that gap. Came into the next level. We got a little move away from that zone. Second candle, third candle, 4, 5, 6 candle. It just didn't really do a whole lot towards the end of the day as we rallied up into it. We did not see that reversal. So now looking at this on a 4 hour, we have put in a little bit of strength, but technically not a higher high or higher low. So, looking at this on a 4 hour, I'm going to take this drawing and move it, because I'm going to look at the 4 hour supply level instead of the hourly supply level, because that would typically be the price magnet. So keep an eye on that one up there. But those are our markets for today, as we continue to look for price coming down into these areas where we could see a better reversal. But I think this is a really good opportunity to look at equity positions and see if you can find good options trades on stock equity positions. But if you got any questions, please send us an email, support@tradersarmy.com. Till tomorrow, everybody, I hope you have a great day, and I will see you soon. Later.